Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the battleship Victory, watching the tactical display with growing despair. Red dots filled the screen like a swarm of angry insects. 300 alien ships surrounded the human colony of Kepler 442. The hegemony had finally come for them. "Sir, we have 30 ships ready for battle," reported Lieutenant Kim from the weapons station. Her voice was steady, but Chen could see her hands shaking slightly. "The aliens have 10 times our numbers." Chen nodded grimly. He had known this day would come. For 50 years, humans had been expanding across the galaxy, building colonies on distant worlds. The hegemony, an alliance of 12 alien species, had watched and waited. Now they were here to stop humanity's growth forever. The alien ships were massive. Each hegemony dreadnought was over 1 kilometer long, bristling with weapons that could crack a planet's surface. Their shields glowed with energy that made space itself shimmer. The smallest enemy vessel was twice the size of Chen's flagship. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the hegemony fleet," called Communications Officer Torres. "Put it on screen," Chen ordered. A tall, thin alien appeared on the main display. Its skin was pale blue and its eyes were completely black. This was a Vorthak, one of the founding species of the hegemony. The creature's voice was cold and mechanical when it spoke. "Human Admiral, I am Fleet Commander Zexthul. You will surrender immediately. Your species has violated the sacred boundaries. You have built colonies in forbidden space. This expansion ends now." Chen stepped forward, his jaw set firm. "Commander, these are human colonies built on empty worlds. We have harmed no one. We will not surrender." The alien's expression did not change. "Then you will be destroyed. Your colony ships, your settlements, your people, all will be eliminated. This is the price of defiance." The transmission ended. Chen turned to his crew. Every face on the bridge looked back at him with trust and determination. These men and women had families on the colony below. 2 million humans lived on Kepler 442, including Chen's own daughter and grandchildren. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," he spoke into his communicator. "The hegemony has refused our peaceful intentions. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every human in this system. Make every shot count." The battle began with a storm of energy weapons. The hegemony ships opened fire first, sending waves of plasma and particle beams across space. The human fleet responded with their own weapons: railguns, fusion missiles, and laser arrays. For the first hour, the humans held their own. Their ships were smaller and faster than the alien vessels. The human captains used hit-and-run tactics, striking quickly and then moving away before the enemy could respond. But the hegemony had numbers, and numbers began to tell. The destroyer Courage was the first to fall. It took a direct hit from 3 alien beam weapons at once. The ship's hull melted like butter, and its reactor went critical. The explosion lit up space like a small star. "Courage is gone, sir," reported Kim, her voice now cracking with emotion. "No survivors." More ships followed. The cruiser Hope lost its engines and drifted helplessly until enemy fire tore it apart. The frigate Justice managed to ram an alien vessel, taking both ships down in a brilliant fireball. Chen watched his fleet die ship by ship. The humans fought bravely, but they were outgunned and outnumbered. For every alien ship they destroyed, the enemy destroyed 3 human vessels. "Sir, we're down to 15 ships," reported the tactical officer. "Enemy casualties are light. They're adapting to our attack patterns." Chen clenched his fists. The hegemony ships had indeed learned from the early fighting. They now moved in tight formations, covering each other with overlapping shields. Human attacks that had worked before now barely scratched the alien hulls. The battle raged for 6 hours. Space around Kepler 442 became a graveyard of twisted metal and cooling plasma. The human fleet continued to shrink. 20 ships became 15. 15 became 10. 10 became 5. Chen's own ship had taken heavy damage. Sparks flew from control panels and the lights flickered on and off. The hull had been breached in 3 places. Emergency teams worked frantically to seal the gaps and keep the ship fighting. "Admiral, we can't take much more of this," said the ship's engineer over the comm system. "Our shields are at 15%. Main weapons are offline. We need to retreat." Chen looked at the tactical display one more time. Only 5 human ships remained operational. The alien fleet still had over 200 vessels, most barely damaged. The colony below was defenseless. He opened a channel to the surviving ships. "All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. We have fought bravely, but we cannot win this battle. Prepare for emergency jump to Rally Point 7. We'll regroup and try to get help." The surviving captains acknowledged the order, but Chen could hear the defeat in their voices. They all knew what this meant. The colony would fall. 2 million humans would die or become slaves. "Charging jump drives," reported the navigation officer. "We'll be ready to leave in 2 minutes." Chen stared at the planet below them. Somewhere down there, his daughter Sarah was probably watching the battle through a telescope, knowing that her father had failed to protect her world. The thought made his chest ache. "Sir," called Torres from communications. "I'm detecting a new contact. Single ship, approaching from the outer system." Chen turned to look at the sensor display. A small blip was moving toward them at incredible speed. "Can you identify it?" It's human, sir. Ship's name is Prometheus." "But sir, that's impossible. The Prometheus was lost 3 months ago during a classified mission." Chen's eyes widened. He remembered the Prometheus. It was an experimental ship, much smaller than his other vessels. Captain Sarah Martinez had been testing some new technology when the ship vanished without a trace. The Navy had declared it lost with all hands. "Are you sure about the identification?" Chen asked. "Positive, sir. It's definitely the Prometheus." The small ship continued its approach, moving faster than any human vessel should be able to travel. The hegemony fleet had noticed it too. Several alien ships were turning to face this new arrival. Suddenly, a transmission came through on the emergency frequency. The voice was clear and calm, speaking with quiet confidence. "All ships, this is Captain Sarah Martinez of the Prometheus. Maintain current positions. Do not attempt to jump. I repeat, maintain current positions. Prometheus is assuming tactical command." Chen stared at the comm panel in shock. Sarah Martinez was his own daughter, but the Prometheus was just one small ship against hundreds of alien vessels. What could she possibly hope to accomplish? "Sarah, this is your father," Chen transmitted on a private channel. "You need to get out of here now. The hegemony fleet will destroy you." There was a pause before his daughter's voice came back. "Not today, Dad, trust me. Just keep your ships where they are and watch." The Prometheus continued its impossible approach toward the massive alien fleet. Chen could only watch as his daughter flew straight toward certain death. But something in her voice had sounded different. There was a confidence there that he had never heard before, as if she knew something that no one else did. The alien fleet was already powering up their weapons to deal with this single suicidal human ship. Captain Sarah Martinez sat in the command chair of the Prometheus, her hand steady on the controls. The ship's bridge was smaller than most, with only 4 crew stations. Her team had been through hell over the past 3 months, but now they were ready. "Captain, the hegemony fleet is targeting us," reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Jackson. "All weapon systems are powering up. They're not taking any chances." Sarah nodded calmly. "Let them target us, Jack. How's our phase drive?" "Operating at full capacity," replied her chief engineer, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. "All dimensional matrices are stable. We're ready for phase shift on your command." Sarah looked at the massive enemy fleet ahead of them. 300 alien warships, each one capable of destroying her tiny vessel with a single shot. The Prometheus was only 200 meters long, barely larger than a corvette. Against the kilometer-long hegemony dreadnoughts, it looked like a minnow swimming toward a school of sharks. "Captain, your father is trying to reach us again," said communications specialist Chen Lu. "He sounds worried." "He should be worried," Sarah said quietly. "Put him through." Admiral Chen's voice filled the bridge tight with fear for his daughter. "Sarah, what are you doing? That's the entire hegemony fleet. You need to retreat now." "Dad, I know this looks impossible," Sarah replied. "But we found something out there. Something that changes everything. Just trust me and keep your ships back." "Sarah, I'm ordering you to withdraw immediately." Sarah smiled sadly. "Sorry, Dad, I'm not under your command anymore. Prometheus out." She cut the transmission and looked at her crew. These 4 people had been with her through the most incredible journey in human history. 3 months ago, they had been testing an experimental faster-than-light drive. Instead of just moving through space quickly, something had gone wrong. Or maybe something had gone very right. "Distance to enemy fleet?" Sarah asked. 50,000 kilometers and closing, Jackson reported. "Captain, they're not even bothering with warnings. Every ship in their fleet is preparing to fire." The hegemony commanders were indeed confident. Fleet Commander Zexthal watched the approaching human ship with cold amusement. The vessel was so small that his sensors barely registered it as a threat. Perhaps the humans were attempting some sort of desperate ramming attack. All ships prepare to fire, Zexthul commanded. This foolish human will serve as an example to the others. Across the alien fleet, weapon systems hummed to life. Plasma cannons, particle beams, fusion torpedoes, and gravity weapons all turned toward the tiny human ship. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. On the Prometheus, Sarah watched the enemy weapons charging. Energy readings spiked across her tactical display. In moments, every gun in the hegemony fleet would fire at once. All stations prepare for combat, Sarah announced. Dr. Tanaka, are we ready? Phase drive is at maximum power, the engineer confirmed. Dimensional shift ready on your command. Jackson, target the enemy flagship with our main gun. Single shot, low power. Ma'am. Jackson looked confused. Our main weapon won't even scratch their shields. It's not meant to hurt them, Sarah explained. It's meant to send a message. The tactical officer programmed the weapon as ordered. The Prometheus had only one main gun, a modest particle beam that was powerful for its size but tiny compared to alien weapons. 40,000 kilometers, Jackson called out. 30,000. 20,000. Sarah watched the energy readings from the enemy fleet reach critical levels. Hundreds of weapons were about to fire simultaneously. The amount of energy being directed at her ship could have powered Earth's entire electrical grid for a year. 15,000 kilometers, Jackson continued. Captain, they're about to fire everything, Fleet Commander Zexthul ordered. Space exploded with light. Every weapon in the hegemony fleet fired at exactly the same moment. Plasma beams, particle streams, and energy torpedoes all converged on the tiny human ship. The combined assault created a ball of pure energy that blazed like a star. Admiral Chen watched in horror from his flagship. No ship could survive that kind of concentrated firepower. His daughter and her crew had just been vaporized. Sarah! He screamed, but there was no response. The energy storm raged for nearly 30 seconds before beginning to fade. As the light dimmed, the hegemony commanders waited to see empty space where the human ship had been. Instead, they saw something impossible. The Prometheus continued flying straight toward them, completely undamaged. Not a single alien weapon had touched it. The ship's hull didn't even show scorch marks. What? Fleet Commander Zexthul stared at his tactical display in confusion. How is that possible? All weapons hit their target. His tactical officer, a reptilian Sarak, checked the sensors again. Sir, our weapons did hit. All energy beams passed through the exact coordinates of the human ship. But somehow they had no effect. Fire again, Zexthul ordered. All ships fire again. The alien fleet unleashed another massive barrage. Once again, the Prometheus flew through the storm of energy as if it didn't exist. The weapons passed right through the ship without causing any damage at all. On the human flagship, Admiral Chen stared at his sensors in amazement. How is she doing that? Our readings show the alien weapons are hitting her ship directly. Lieutenant Kim checked her instruments twice before answering. Sir, I think the weapons are passing through the Prometheus without touching it. Like the ship isn't really there. That's impossible, Chen muttered, but he could see it happening with his own eyes. On the Prometheus, Sarah smiled at her crew. Phase shift is working perfectly. We're existing in dimensional layer 2 while observing layer 1. Their weapons can't touch us because we're not in the same reality they're shooting at. Dr. Tanaka nodded proudly. 3 months of testing paid off. The phase drive doesn't just move us through space. It moves us between dimensions. Distance to enemy flagship? Sarah asked. 5,000 kilometers and closing, Jackson replied. They're still firing, but they look confused. Fleet Commander Zexthul was indeed confused. His fleet had fired 4 complete salvos at the human ship. Every weapon had scored direct hits according to his sensors, but the target remained undamaged. The small vessel continued its approach as if his entire fleet didn't exist. Sir, what are your orders? His tactical officer asked nervously. Zexthul studied the approaching ship with growing unease. In his long military career, he had never seen anything like this. The humans had always been clever, but this was beyond clever. This was impossible. Prepare all ships for evasive maneuvers, he finally ordered. And get me a communication channel to that human ship. Sarah received the alien transmission but ignored it. Instead, she opened a channel to the entire hegemony fleet and broadcast on all frequencies. Attention hegemony vessels. This is Captain Sarah Martinez of the Terran ship Prometheus. 3 months ago, my crew and I discovered something wonderful. We learned to step between dimensions. Today you're going to learn why that makes humans the most dangerous species in the galaxy. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Gentlemen, we've spent 3 months learning to fight from outside normal space. Time to show these aliens what we've learned. The Prometheus continued its approach, now only 2,000 kilometers from the enemy flagship. For the first time in the battle, Fleet Commander Zexthul felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. Fleet Commander Zexthul watched the human ship approach with growing dread. The Prometheus had just flown through enough firepower to destroy a battle fleet without taking any damage. Now it was heading straight for his flagship, and nothing he did seemed to affect it. "All ships continue firing," he ordered desperately. There must be some way to hit that vessel. The hegemony fleet obeyed, sending wave after wave of energy at the small human ship. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and fusion missiles all converged on the same target. Each attack was perfectly aimed and should have been deadly. Each attack passed harmlessly through the Prometheus as if it were made of air. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Sarah Martinez watched the alien weapons fire with calm interest. The energy beams created beautiful light shows as they passed through her ship, but they might as well have been shooting at a ghost. "Jackson, bring us within 1 kilometer of their flagship," she ordered. "Nice and slow. I want them to get a good look at us." "Aye, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Jackson replied. "They're still firing everything they have." Dr. Tanaka checked her engineering displays. "Phase drive is stable. We're maintaining perfect dimensional shift. Their weapons exist in Layer 1 reality. We exist in Layer 2. They literally cannot touch us," Sarah nodded. The past 3 months had been the strangest and most wonderful time of her life. When the experimental phase drive had activated during their test flight, it hadn't just moved the Prometheus through space. It had moved the entire ship into a parallel dimension. At first, they had thought they were trapped. The ship existed in a reality that was almost identical to normal space, but slightly different. They could see stars, planets, and other ships, but they couldn't interact with anything. Their communications didn't work. Their weapons couldn't affect normal matter. But Dr. Tanaka was brilliant. Over 3 months, she had figured out how to control the phase drive. They learned to shift between dimensional layers at will. They could exist in normal space when they wanted to interact with things, or shift to the alternate dimension when they needed to be untouchable. More importantly, they had discovered that they could selectively phase parts of the ship. They could keep the hull in the alternate dimension while phasing their weapons into normal space. This meant they could shoot at enemies who couldn't shoot back. "Distance to flagship?" Sarah asked. 800 meters, Jackson reported. "Captain, I can see aliens moving around on their bridge through the viewports. They look scared." Sarah could understand why. From the hegemony perspective, a human ship had just survived the combined firepower of their entire fleet and was now approaching close enough to ram. But instead of attacking, the Prometheus was just watching. Fleet Commander Zexthul stared at the human vessel through his bridge windows. It was so close he could see details on its hull. The ship looked ordinary enough, a typical human design with simple lines and basic armor plating. But it had just done something that should have been impossible. "Sir, all weapons are still firing with no effect," reported his tactical officer. "The human ship is not responding to any of our attacks." "How is this possible?" Zexthul demanded. "Matter cannot simply ignore energy weapons." His science officer, a tall alien with multiple arms, checked his instruments nervously. "Sir, our sensors show something very strange. The human ship appears to exist in our reality, but our weapons pass through it as if it were in a different dimension entirely." "Different dimension?" Zexthul's black eyes widened. "That's theoretical nonsense." "Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the human vessel. They're using some kind of dimensional manipulation technology." On the human flagship, Admiral Chen was watching the impossible scene with amazement. His daughter's ship was floating next to the enemy flagship like it owned the place, while hundreds of alien weapons fired uselessly at it. "Sir, I'm detecting some kind of transmission from the Prometheus," reported Communications Officer Torres. "It's not directed at us. They're broadcasting to the entire hegemony fleet." "Put it on speaker," Chen ordered. Sarah's voice filled the bridge of every human ship. "Dad, I know this looks impossible, but let me explain what happened to us. 3 months ago, we were testing the new phase drive. Instead of just going faster than light, we accidentally shifted into a parallel dimension." Admiral Chen gripped his command chair. "Sarah, how is that possible?" "The phase drive creates a field that moves matter between dimensional layers," Sarah continued her broadcast. Think of it like sheets of paper stacked on top of each other. Normal space is one sheet. We learned to move to the sheet right next to it. Dr. Tanaka's voice joined the transmission. Admiral Chen, this is Dr. Tanaka. The mathematics are complex, but the result is simple. We can exist in a dimension where we can see and affect normal space, but normal space cannot affect us. That's incredible, Chen whispered. But Sarah, you're just one ship. Not anymore, Dad, Sarah replied with a smile in her voice. We've been busy these past 3 months. We didn't just learn to hide in other dimensions. We learned to fight from them. The Prometheus suddenly moved. Instead of staying next to the Hegemony flagship, it flew directly toward the alien ship's hull. Admiral Chen expected to see a collision, but instead the human ship passed through the alien vessel's armor plating like it was made of water. Sir, called Lieutenant Kim from the weapons station. The Prometheus is inside the enemy flagship. Fleet Commander Zexthol felt his ship shake as something passed through it. Alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. What's happening? He demanded. Sir, the human ship just flew through our hull, his tactical officer reported in panic. It's inside our ship. That's impossible. Nothing can pass through solid matter. Sir, it's moving through our corridors. I'm reading human life signs in sections 7 through 12. Zexthol stared at his internal sensors in horror. The Prometheus was indeed inside his ship, flying through solid bulkheads as if they didn't exist. But how could something that his weapons couldn't touch also move through his ship's hull? On the Prometheus, Sarah studied the alien ship's internal structure. Jackson, target their main reactor control room. Minimum power, just enough to get their attention. Aye, Captain. Phasing weapons to normal space, firing. The Prometheus fired a single low-power particle beam. Since the weapons were phased into normal space while the ship remained in the alternate dimension, the beam struck the alien reactor controls directly. Sparks flew from the Hegemony ship's control panels, and power fluctuated throughout the vessel. Damage report, Zexthol shouted. Sir, someone fired on our reactor controls from inside the ship. But that's impossible. The human vessel is still showing on internal sensors. Sarah opened a communication channel to the Hegemony flagship. Fleet Commander, this is Captain Martinez. As you can see, we can move through your ship at will and fire on any target we choose. Your weapons cannot touch us, but our weapons can definitely touch you. The alien commander's face appeared on her screen, his black eyes wide with fear and confusion. What do you want, human? Right now, I want you to understand your situation, Sarah replied calmly. You came here to destroy our colony and kill our people. Instead, you've encountered something your species has never seen before. We can attack you from inside your own ships, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop us. Zexthol looked around his bridge as the human ship continued to move through his vessel. His crew was panicking, and he couldn't blame them. In all his years of military service, he had never faced an enemy that could simply ignore his defenses. How many of these ships do you have? He asked quietly. Sarah smiled coldly. Enough. The question is, Fleet Commander, what are you going to do about it? The Prometheus flew out the other side of the alien flagship and took position in the center of the Hegemony formation. 300 enemy warships surrounded the tiny human vessel. But for the first time in the battle, it was the aliens who felt helpless. Captain Sarah Martinez positioned the Prometheus in the exact center of the Hegemony fleet formation. 300 alien warships surrounded her tiny vessel, their weapons still firing uselessly. But now the balance of power had shifted completely. Jackson, begin target analysis, Sarah ordered. I want a complete breakdown of every ship in this fleet. Identify their command structures, weapon systems, and engines. Aye, Captain. Computer is analyzing now. Lieutenant Commander Jackson worked at his station with practiced efficiency. We have full tactical data on all enemy vessels. Their shields and armor mean nothing to us. Dr. Tanaka looked up from her engineering console. Captain, phase drive is operating perfectly. We can maintain dimensional shift indefinitely. Their weapons will never be able to touch us. Sarah nodded and opened a communication channel to the entire Hegemony fleet. Attention all vessels. This is Captain Martinez. You came here to destroy our colony and kill our people. That's not going to happen. Instead, I'm going to show you why attacking humanity was the biggest mistake your species ever made. She cut the transmission and turned to her tactical officer. Jackson, target the destroyer on our port side. Take out their engines first. The Prometheus moved smoothly through space toward a Hegemony destroyer. The alien ship was massive compared to the human vessel, but size meant nothing when your enemy could attack from another dimension. Phasing weapons to normal space, Jackson reported. Targeting their engine compartment, the particle beam lanced out from the Prometheus and struck the destroyer's engines directly. Since the human ship existed in a parallel dimension, the alien shields didn't even register the attack. The beam passed through their defensive barriers as if they weren't there. Explosions bloomed along the destroyer's hull as its engines died. The alien ship began to drift helplessly, its power systems failing. Target eliminated, Jackson announced. No threat to the colony. Sarah felt no satisfaction in the attack. These aliens had come to murder innocent people. They deserved whatever happened to them. Fleet Commander Zexthal watched in horror as one of his ships was disabled by an enemy he couldn't fight. The human vessel had simply appeared next to the destroyer and fired through its shields. His most advanced defensive technology was completely useless. "All ships attempt ramming attacks," he ordered desperately. "If we can't shoot them, we'll run them down." Several hegemony vessels changed course and accelerated toward the Prometheus. The alien ships were much larger and more massive than the human vessel. If they could catch it, they could crush it. But the Prometheus simply phased deeper into the alternate dimension and let the alien ships pass harmlessly through its position. The hegemony vessels collided with each other instead, damaging their own hulls. Sarah watched the aliens panic with cold satisfaction. "Jackson, next target. Take out that cruiser's weapons." The human ship moved to its next victim like a shark among minnows. The hegemony cruiser fired everything it had at the approaching Prometheus, but the weapons passed through empty space. Meanwhile, the human particle beam struck the alien ship's weapon systems with surgical precision. One by one, the cruiser's guns went silent. Explosions rippled along its hull as its armaments were destroyed from the inside. The ship was left defenseless, floating dead in space. 2 down, Jackson reported. 298 to go. Admiral Chen watched the battle from his flagship with growing amazement. His daughter was systematically destroying the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, and the aliens couldn't even fight back. "Sir, the Prometheus is moving to another target," reported Lieutenant Kim. "She's taking them apart one by one." Chen nodded grimly. "Signal all ships to maintain position. Let Sarah do her work." The Prometheus continued its methodical hunt. Sarah targeted ships based on their threat level, starting with the largest and most dangerous vessels. The hegemony dreadnoughts found their massive weapons useless as the tiny human ship appeared inside their shield perimeters and struck their vital systems. "Jackson, target that battleship's bridge," Sarah ordered. "Let's remove their command structure." The particle beam lanced out again, passing through the alien ship's hull and striking its command center. The battleship's bridge exploded in a shower of sparks and debris. Without central control, the massive vessel began to drift aimlessly. Fleet Commander Zexthal felt his confidence crumbling as ship after ship fell to the impossible human attack. His fleet was being destroyed by a single tiny vessel that he couldn't even touch. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count them," his tactical officer reported with barely controlled panic. "The humans are targeting our most important systems with perfect accuracy. How many ships have we lost?" Zexthal asked quietly. 15 destroyed, 32 disabled. And they're not slowing down. Zexthal made a decision that went against everything he had been taught. "Signal the fleet. All ships prepare to retreat." "Sir?" His tactical officer looked shocked. "We outnumber them 300 to 1. Numbers mean nothing when the enemy can't be harmed." Zexthal snapped. "Send the retreat order." Across the hegemony fleet, ships began turning away from the battle and charging their faster-than-light drives. But Sarah had anticipated this. "Jackson, they're trying to run. Target their FTL drives before they can escape." The Prometheus accelerated to impossible speeds, moving between dimensions to appear at each ship's location before they could jump to light speed. The human vessel struck the hegemony ship's drive systems with pinpoint accuracy, trapping them in normal space. "No escape," Sarah said coldly. "They came here to commit genocide. They don't get to leave." Ship after ship found their escape routes cut off. The Prometheus moved through the fleet like a ghost, appearing anywhere it was needed and striking with deadly precision. The aliens had no defense against an enemy that could attack from outside reality itself. Some hegemony commanders tried desperate measures. They attempted to ram the human ship, only to pass harmlessly through it. They tried to self-destruct their vessels, hoping to catch the Prometheus in the explosion. But the human ship simply phased to safety. One alien captain tried to surrender, broadcasting white flag signals on all frequencies. Sarah ignored him and disabled his ship anyway. There would be no mercy for those who came to murder children. "Captain, we've disabled over 100 ships," Jackson reported. "The remaining vessels are scattering in all directions." "Stay with them," Sarah ordered. "Don't let a single ship escape." The Prometheus pursued the fleeing aliens relentlessly. The human ship could move faster than anything in the hegemony fleet, phasing between dimensions to appear wherever it was needed. No matter which direction the aliens ran, Sarah was there waiting for them. Fleet Commander Zexthol's own ship was among the last to be caught. The Prometheus appeared directly in front of his flagship, its weapons already charging. "Wait," Zexthol broadcast on all frequencies. "I wish to surrender." Sarah's face appeared on his communication screen. Her expression was cold and merciless. "You had your chance to surrender before the battle started. You chose to fight instead." "Please!" "We didn't know humans had this technology. We would never have attacked if we had known." "But you did attack," Sarah replied. "You came here to kill 2 million innocent people. That's not something I can forgive." The particle beam struck Zexthol's ship and his engines died. The flagship joined the growing collection of disabled vessels floating helplessly in space. Sarah looked around at the destruction her single ship had caused. In less than 30 minutes, she had neutralized the entire hegemony fleet. Not one alien vessel remained operational. "Jackson, are there any ships still capable of fighting?" she asked. "Negative, Captain. All enemy vessels are either destroyed or disabled. Total enemy casualties. 0 dead. But every ship in their fleet is out of action." Sarah had been careful not to kill unless absolutely necessary. She wanted prisoners, not corpses. The aliens would answer for their crimes, but they would do it alive. "Open a channel to Admiral Chen," she ordered. Her father's face appeared on screen, showing a mixture of pride and amazement. "Sarah, what you've done here." "It's incredible. How did you disable an entire fleet so quickly?" 3 months of practice, Dad," Sarah replied. "We've been learning to fight from outside normal space. When you can attack from anywhere and your enemy can't hit you back, battles don't last very long." Admiral Chen nodded slowly. "What happens now?" Sarah looked at the disabled alien ships floating around her. "Now we secure the prisoners and send a message to the hegemony. They need to understand that humanity is no longer defenseless." Captain Sarah Martinez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, looking out at the field of disabled hegemony ships floating in space around Kepler 442. The massive alien fleet that had come to destroy the human colony was now completely helpless. Not a single enemy vessel retained the ability to fight or flee. "Final casualty report, Jackson," she ordered. Lieutenant Commander Jackson checked his tactical display one more time. All 300 hegemony vessels disabled or destroyed. Total time of engagement, 27 minutes. Human casualties, 0. Alien casualties, minimal. Most of their crews are alive but trapped on their ships. Sarah nodded with satisfaction. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. She opened a communication channel to her father's flagship. "Dad, this is Sarah. The immediate threat is neutralized. What's the status of the colony?" Admiral Chen's voice came back filled with relief and pride. "Colony is secure. 2 million people safe thanks to you. Sarah, what you've accomplished here, it's going to change everything." "That's the idea," Sarah replied. "But first we need to deal with these prisoners." "Jackson, signal the surviving human ships. We're going to need their help securing the alien crews." Over the next several hours, teams from the remaining human vessels boarded the disabled hegemony ships. The alien crews were taken prisoner without resistance. Most were too shocked by their defeat to cause trouble. Fleet Commander Zexthol was brought aboard the Prometheus as the highest-ranking prisoner. The tall alien stood in the ship's small conference room, his black eyes studying the humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. "I don't understand," he said quietly. "How is this possible? Your species was barely capable of interstellar flight 50 years ago. How did you develop technology that makes our most advanced ships helpless?" Sarah sat across from him at the conference table. "We got lucky, Commander. Sometimes the best discoveries happen by accident." "This dimensional manipulation technology," Zexthol continued. "How many ships do you have equipped with it?" Sarah smiled but didn't answer directly. "Enough." The truth was more complex. The Prometheus was indeed the first and only ship with phase drive technology, but Dr. Tanaka had been broadcasting detailed technical data to Earth throughout the battle. Human engineers were already working to retrofit other vessels with the new technology. "Commander, I want you to understand something," Sarah said seriously. "Your people came here to commit genocide. You planned to murder 2 million innocent humans, including children. The only reason you're still alive is because we chose to show mercy." Zexthul lowered his head. "I was following orders from the Hegemony High Council. They believed humanity's expansion needed to be stopped." "Well, they were wrong," Sarah replied. "And now you're going to help us make sure this never happens again." She activated a communication panel and began broadcasting on all frequencies, including the Hegemony's military channels. Her message would reach every alien listening post within 50 light years. "This is Captain Sarah Martinez of the Terran Defense Force," she began. "Today the Hegemony sent a fleet of 300 warships to destroy the human colony at Kepler 442. That fleet has been completely neutralized by a single human vessel." She paused to let that information sink in before continuing. "The siege of Kepler 442 is ended. Your invasion fleet has been defeated. Consider this humanity's formal notice. Earth and all her colonies are now under the protection of the Dimensional Fleet." Sarah cut the transmission and turned back to Zexthul. "That message will reach Hegemony space in a few weeks. I want you to personally deliver a follow-up message to your High Council." "What message?" the alien commander asked nervously. "Tell them that humans are no longer the weak prey species they thought we were. We have technology that makes us untouchable in battle. If they want to avoid further conflict, they will respect our territory and leave our colonies alone." Dr. Tanaka entered the conference room carrying a datapad. "Captain, I've finished the technical analysis. The phase drive worked perfectly throughout the entire engagement. We can replicate this technology on other ships." Sarah nodded. "How long until we have a full fleet of phase-capable vessels?" "With the data we've gathered, Earth's shipyards can retrofit existing vessels in 6 months. New construction will take longer, but we'll have dozens of phase ships operational within a year." Zexthul listened to this conversation with growing alarm. The humans weren't just claiming to have a fleet of untouchable ships. They were actually building one. "Captain Martinez," he said carefully, "if what you're saying is true, the balance of power in this galaxy will shift completely. The Hegemony has maintained order for 1,000 years. Your order was built on oppression and fear." Sarah replied. "Maybe it's time for something better." She stood and walked to the conference room's small viewport. Outside, teams of humans were still working to secure the disabled alien ships. The Hegemony fleet that had come to destroy a human colony was now completely under human control. "Commander, you're going to be released along with your crews," Sarah announced. "We'll provide you with one functional ship to carry you back to Hegemony space. I want you to personally brief your High Council on what happened here." "You're letting us go?" Zexthul looked surprised. "We're not conquerors," Sarah explained. "We don't want to rule over other species. We just want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. But if anyone threatens our people again, they'll face the same fate as your fleet." Admiral Chen entered the conference room, still looking amazed by everything that had happened. "Sarah, Earth Command is requesting a full briefing on the phase drive technology. They want to begin mass production immediately." "Tell them we'll provide all the technical data," Sarah replied, "but emphasize that this technology is for defense only. We're not going to use it to start wars." "What about the Hegemony ships we captured?" Chen asked. Sarah thought for a moment. "Strip them of weapons and advanced technology, then return them to their crews. Keep the technical data for study, but let the aliens go home." Zexthul stood slowly. "Captain, may I ask why you're being so merciful? My fleet came here to destroy your colony." Sarah turned to face him directly. "Because that's what separates us from you, Commander. Humans don't murder prisoners or destroy helpless enemies. We fight to protect ourselves, not to conquer others." She paused, then added, "But don't mistake mercy for weakness. If the Hegemony ever threatens humanity again, the response will be swift and decisive." Over the following days, the human fleet worked to process the massive number of prisoners and disabled ships. The Hegemony crews were given basic supplies and a single functional vessel to carry them home. The rest of their fleet was either destroyed or stripped for study. Dr. Tanaka and her team collected enormous amounts of technical data about alien technology. While the phase drive made human ships nearly invincible, There was still much to learn from other species' innovations. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Prometheus as the last group of alien prisoners departed for home. The single hegemony ship limped away from Kepler 442, carrying news of humanity's new capabilities back to their leaders. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," reported communications specialist Chen Lu. "Put it through," Sarah ordered. The face of Admiral Harrison, the head of Earth's military forces, appeared on screen. "Captain Martinez, congratulations on your victory. The entire planet is celebrating. You've given humanity its greatest military advantage in history." "Thank you, Admiral, but I hope we never have to use it again." "Unfortunately, we probably will," Harrison replied grimly. "The galaxy is full of hostile species. The hegemony won't be the last to threaten our colonies." Sarah nodded sadly. "Then we'll be ready for them. The Prometheus was just the prototype. How many phase ships are you planning to build? The shipyards are retooling now. We'll have 50 phase-capable vessels within 6 months and hundreds more after that. You've given us the ability to protect every human colony in the galaxy." "Good," Sarah said. "But remember, Admiral, this technology is for defense. We don't become the thing we're fighting against." "Understood, Captain. You have my word." The transmission ended, and Sarah looked out at the stars surrounding Kepler 442. The colony below was safe, and soon every human settlement would be protected by the dimensional fleet. She opened one final communication channel, broadcasting to the entire star system on all frequencies. "This is Captain Sarah Martinez. Final log entry for the Battle of Kepler 442. A hegemony fleet of 300 ships came here to destroy our colony and kill our people. That threat has been eliminated. The enemy fleet was defeated in 27 minutes with 0 human casualties." She paused, choosing her words carefully for the historical record. "Let this battle serve as notice to all who would threaten humanity. We are no longer the defenseless species we once were. We have learned to fight from outside reality itself. Earth and her colonies are now protected by technology that makes us untouchable in battle." Sarah smiled as she delivered her final words. A lone human ship entered this battle. The battle ended instantly. For our enemies, there was no escape. For humanity, there is now no fear.